9 to 10 p.m. Monday night on Liffey Sounds. The world you don't know. The world you don't know. 9 to 10 p.m. Monday night on Liffey Sounds.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're very welcome along to this week's edition of The World You Don't Know. And I have been away for the last 2 weeks on a bit of a hiatus, with all the political mumbo-jumbo and shenanigans going on over the last week. Last week's show was taking up a party political broadcasts. I don't know how the candidates done who are being interviewed now, so hopefully they all done well. We do know it's a bit of a mess out there. Labour Party getting lashed over. The people have certainly spoken anyway, but looks like politics is going to be a mess anyway for the next few months. Now, I do have a guest coming on tonight. I'm just going to briefly talk about a little book I read over the last few days. And the book is called A Slave's Guide to the Galaxy, and it was one of the most riveting reads I've had now in a long time. Now, as far as conspiratorial books and stuff about the New World Order and stuff about UFOs and chemtrails and all the other stuff that's going on globally, I've read lots of them, but this book actually absolutely stood out. For me anyway, it was an extraordinary read. I'm going to get the guy on in a couple of minutes, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a song just while we're waiting for Skype to load up. The computer's a bit slow tonight. The computer's doing a fair bit of work here tonight. There's some stuff getting saved and loaded up onto the computer. So I'm going to play Chris Ray. I'm going to play, and hopefully I'll have Skype up and running before the next couple of minutes, and we'll get my guest on. And my guest is a gentleman from the UK called Holloway. He wrote this book, and the book is available on Amazon. And we're going to talk a bit more about the book when I do come back, but I'm going to play this song for you now first, and when I come back then I'll get Coy on. So I'll talk to you all very shortly. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that was just a little bit of Chris Ray there playing in the background. I do have my guest now on Skype, waiting in the wings. Now, my guest this evening is a gentleman, as I says, called Coy Holloway. And he's written a brilliant book, an absolutely fantastic book. I recommend it to anybody, called A Slave's Guide to the Galaxy. And the perspective the book is written from is quite unique, and we're going to get into that once I get my guest on. So I'm going to go straight to my guest now. I'll just kill that song, and it is killed. So that was Chris Ray there in The Road to Hell, and you might think we're on a road to hell, but we're not. There is some good out there in the world, folks. So without further ado, I'm going to go to Coy Holloway. Good evening, Coy.
Good evening, mate. How are you?
How are you? That's a nice clear line there. I can hear you loud and clear. Well, listen, you're very welcome along to The World You Don't Know.
Thanks for having me.
No, you're more than welcome. I didn't buy your book. I actually got the free download I availed of it the other night, and thanks very much for that. And I spent the last couple of days reading the book, and I have to say it was an absolutely riveting read. And as somebody who has read quite a lot of books over the last 20 years in relation to the New World Order agenda and everything else that goes with that, I've read almost all of David Icke's books, bar two of his latest books I haven't read, but I've read every other book that he has written. And your book covers just about everything that he's written about over the last 20 years, and plenty of other authors as well around the world. But you came from an absolutely fantastic perspective. You told a story basically of world history and what's going on from the perspective of one of the scumbags who was perpetrating all this crap upon the planet. And when I read the book, I had Henry Kissinger in mind, so that was the voice I was using in my head. So do you want to tell me a little bit, how did this book come about?
Well, I was actually playing with different ideas and how to. I mean, first and foremost, I wanted something that was completely factual. I didn't want any bollocks in there, Mick. You know, I didn't want to bring any aliens, or I didn't want to bring any stuff in that. I've barely mentioned 9/11 in it. You know, I didn't want any conspiracy.
You only touched on it
in the book. Sorry, my friend, we had a bit of a cross there.
Sorry, no, I got that from the book that you only barely touched on 9/11, and that's, if people want to know about 9/11, there's lots of other books out there you can read, lots of documentaries you can watch, so go on.
Absolutely. I mean, so what I wanted was a book based on fact. And so what you've got in the book is everything is complete fact. There is no nonsense in it. It's all checked, verified, and sourced. And you've even got the information there in front of you to show that, yeah, we're all in a bad situation. And then I thought, okay, so what makes it an interesting read? What will keep the reader captivated? And I was mulling ideas of coming across like Winston Smith from 1984, or I was thinking, should I write it just under myself? But then I thought, no, that's boring. I sort of thought, well, okay, let's write it from one of their perspectives. And that sort of did me a favour, because on one hand, I sort of, I've got to be careful what I say, but I sort of feel contempt for the masses, just in the way we are and the way we disregard the world and what we're doing to it. So in a couple of different hands, it killed a few birds with one stone. And I sort of think, yeah, it's come out exactly the way I wanted it. And I'm really glad you enjoyed it, my friend.
I really enjoyed it. The one aspect I got from the book, that if, just for argument's sake, the author was one of the global elites and not you, and it was one of their books, and this was how it was written, it was the most condescending read I've ever read. You know, I mean, if you didn't know who wrote the book and you thought it was one of the elite, you'd sit there and say, what a condescending bastard that wrote that book.
Well, that's what we want. I mean, we want here, Mick. We've all known the truth now for many, many years. There's been people shouting, hollering. David Icke's been going on for 20 years. You've got other great researchers, you know, out there that have been banging on, all going nicey, and let's talk nice, and we're just conscious, and let's evolve into love. And look, let's stop the crap. Yeah, you need a slap on the face. You need to be told you're pissing your life up the wall, and you need you know, a literal slap on the face. You know, wake up. This is what we're doing, and that's what I hope I achieved. You know,
the book itself. I mean, it's less than a £5 for the book. I think it's. Is it £3.50 or €3.50 for the book?
It's got the number symbology in there. It's £3.22.
Oh, 322. All right,
skull and bones and all
right.
that lot for you conspirators out there. And it's £3.22.
So it's about €4 all in. It's still less than a £5.
Yeah, and that all funds. Not being funny, I'm great advocate of the grand juries and the common law and all that sort of thing. So it's all going to go into projects like that. So you know, buy the book, because it goes to a good place. You know? And
the book is on Amazon. I mean, no, it was on there today now, and I wrote a review for the book. And it was as honest a review as I could give, based on my experience of reading the book. And I read the book very fast. So for anyone who does want to download the book, it's not something you're going to be stuck with for weeks. It's something you're going to pick up, and you're not going to put it down. That's the effect the book had on me.
I've had nothing but great response from the book, and I'm really pleased the way people have taken it, you know.
See, the one thing I got from the book is it encapsulates all of these other books that are written about individual subjects. Like David Icke might write something about the banking industry. Jim Marrs will go away and write something about the NSA or something like that. But you encapsulate the whole lot. That all this stuff is actually going on, and it is all interconnected, even though outwardly, when you're looking at the world through Sky News or CNN or something like that, these all seem like singular events that are taking place. But in reality, they're not. They're all connected, and you joined a lot of dots.
Well, this is what I want to do, Mick. I mean, as the I hate to categorise it, but the truth movement was so divided over so many different subjects, and I just wanted to encapsulate something really quick, really to the point, no messing about. Bosh, bosh, bosh. They're the facts. Bosh, bosh, bosh. And you know, and like I say, it seems like I've achieved it, and I'm really chuffed with the response we've had. And it's everyone. I wanted a book, essentially, and we've got it coming out in paperback now. I wanted a book that somebody could give to a neighbour, a workmate, or whoever that they're arguing with or debating with during, you know, their cup of tea, morning break or whatever. And so we'll read that and come back to me, check out the info in it, come back to me, and hopefully it would change their view on things.
And that's the great thing about the book. If I could just interject, one thing I noticed when I was reading it, I downloaded the Kindle app onto my laptop just so that I could read the book. And the great thing about having the Kindle app on your laptop or even on your smartphone is, if there's a section in the book about a particular subject, you can highlight that, go to other options, and then it will Google it for you.
Yeah.
And that was the great thing about it. I was able to jump from the book to Google and back again, all the way through the book. So when you mentioned a particular fact, I was able to go away and do 5 minutes reading on that and say, oh yeah, he is writing, blah, blah, blah. That's the good thing about it.
Well, we've actually left all the links in there as well. So all the links, the sources, the research I've done, it all links straight back to the sources. And it's all factual. This is the thing. What's in that book It's completely factual. And if you weren't scared before reading it, you should be scared after reading it. But then it should give you, if you look carefully under all the tips, it tells you how to avoid it all. And that's hopefully it's a kick in the teeth, but then the remedy at the same time.
Yeah, it also, another thing I noticed that you've done in the book as well, at the end of certain chapters, in a condescending way, you actually tell people how to comply with the system.
Yeah, but that's the answers. If you look at it, it says do not look at homeschooling, do not look at, so it's basically giving you the answers under the tip.
Yeah, because the good thing, like you just mentioned, do not look at homeschooling. Too, someone new to all of this who would read that line, they say, well, why shouldn't we do homeschooling? And hopefully then they might go away and do a bit of research into homeschooling.
Exactly. Well, my friend put it today. What did he say? If you'd come to me and said you were going to write a book under the idiocy of format. No, sorry. If you were going to write a book with idiocy as a format for instruction, I would advise against it, but I seem to have pulled it off.
You certainly have. I mean, it's a fabulous read now, I have to say. Can I ask you, and I don't like using cliches, but I'm going to use a cliche here. How long have you been awake, as they say? When did you get into all of this? 5
years ago.
That recent, I mean, I've been at this, 15, 20 years since I had my spiritual awakening, if you want to call it that, when I just looked at the world and says, hang on a minute, something's not right here. And I started, 9/11 was the big kicker for me as well. I mean, once 9/11 happened, I think what got me into it was, back in the 90s, there used to be a programme Michael Moore used to do it, and I can't for the life of me remember the name of it, but it used to be on at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning on Channel 4. And in that programme, this is back in the mid-90s, he was exposing what the governments are up to, the surveillance grid that was being put in place.
Yeah.
He was exposing that, and that's what woke me up, watching the likes of that. Now, prior to that, I think, and I'm sure for yourself, most people who would say, well, I woke up at a particular time, were always awake. They just didn't know it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you've got different stages of awakeness, Mick. You've got people that proclaim to be awake, and yet they don't do anything to change the situation. And I don't think you can really call yourself awake if you don't try to make change, no. Well, I don't think you can actually live with yourself if you're fully awake.
But this is what got me into this. When I got into this, if I could just say, I've had times over the years, doing this radio show, looking at stuff and whatnot, where I could just, it's like in the movie The Matrix, where the guy's in the restaurant eating a steak and he wants to be put back into the Matrix.
Yeah,
I've had that feeling where I just wish, Jesus Christ, I wish I'd never got into this stuff in the first place. But as you says, once you become aware of this stuff, you sort of feel duty bound to pass this information to as many people as possible.
Absolutely, Mick. I mean, I've been trying for a couple of years now to do certain projects, and I came up with a peacekeeper thing where, we want to go around and inflict common law on the people that are untouchable, if you like. And we're still working on these sort of projects and grand juries and bringing law back. But I don't think if you call yourself awake and then yet make no obvious moves to change your ways, you're not awake and you're not helping. And I think that's the difference. I think once you truly become awake, you can't stomach being in the society you're in.
Yeah.
Every choice you make makes a difference to that society you're in, and then that's when you really start thinking about it and making change. Change starts in the middle.
Well, that's true. It does start with the individual and then spans out into the community, and then beyond that, then if possible. Listen, I need to go to my first set of ads, so do you mind muting your mic for a couple of minutes?
It's on mute right now.
That's great. Folks, we'll be back in 2 minutes with Holloway.
Broadcasting to Lucan, this is Liffey Sound, 96.4 FM.
You're listening to Liffey Sound
on 96.4
FM.
Now, folks, you're very welcome back. Kai, you still with me?
Yes, I am.
That's grand. That's brilliant. Thanks very much. Kai, just before the break there, I don't remember what we were discussing, but I'm going to move on from whatever it was we were talking about. I want to ask you, in writing this book, did you ever feel like if I write this book, it could put my head above the parapet, as it were, make you, I suppose, a target?
I don't give two shits about that, Mick. Excuse my language, but I'd rather live a day free than the rest of my life incarcerated, you know.
Yeah,
And I couldn't care less about that. My family, my close family, my wife, bless, she knows what I'm doing, and she knows I can't stomach it, and I will spend the last day that I breathe doing what I can to fix it. You know, we cannot condone the society we live in anymore, people. And if you do try and condone it in any way, shape, or form, you're part of the problem. And there's no going back from where we go when you wake. Once you take that pill, if you like, there's no going back, and that's the way I feel. And you know, in a way, it sounds wrong, but I've resigned myself to being that target. And if it wakes up 100 people, you know, my assassination or whatever you might want to call it, so be it. You know, I couldn't care less. You know, it's the right thing to do. And people have got to start thinking, what is the right thing to do in this life? And this is what these thousands of choices each day you've got to make. But, you know, that's what you've got to do. You've got to always do the right thing. And we are not doing the right thing as a society right now.
No, I mean, a perfect example of that would be here in Ireland, for example. Over the last week, we've had a general election, and the two biggest political parties who put this country into the bloody mess that it's in got the most votes. Now, one of the parties, it is a con. One of the parties, the Labour Party, they would have been the smallest party in the two-party coalition that we've had for the last 5 years. They were absolutely hammered over in the election. But the original party who got Ireland into the state it's in and signed the bailout deal back in 2008 was a party called Fianna Fáil, a Republican party, or so-called Republican party. They're not.
Yeah, I know.
But
I know.
they came out on top in this election. But now the thing is, the two biggest parties, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, don't have enough between them to form a government. This is the problem. But
well, that's exactly. It's all planned that way, isn't it? And it's not. You know, if we had free and fair elections, it would be illegal. You know, that's the point about it. And we've got to realise you are slaves and all of these things. They're a made for sheeple TV event. You know, they're just to keep us placated, and it's a load of bollocks. And I tell you what, you've got to stop doing what you're doing today, tomorrow, your work, whatever. And we got to go take these people down because it's a small group, and they are causing our planet's worth of misery. You know, and it's you know,
I don't know if you ever seen
you've got to admit we are pretty lucky because we're not getting bombed at the moment. But you know, we're not far away from it. Ukraine was like we are a year ago, and now look at the state they're in. You know, it's going to come to our shores.
And people think it won't come to our shores, but I mean, the UK especially, it most likely would. You know, I mean, UK is making itself, with all this bullshit of ISIS and refugees flooding in, they're making themselves a target, and it is deliberate. And one thing I've noticed that's going on in the UK over the next 3 or 4 days are training exercises in London.
Yeah, drills.
Big drills. And I'm casting my mind back to 7/7 when there was an actual drill going on which mirrored exactly the alleged terrorist event that took place that day.
Well, we've got a big drill tonight, haven't we? Biggest one ever in UK, so watch eyes and ears, people.
So, I mean, it is a perfect cover, though, for a false flag event. It's been done in the past, and it's been exposed as such.
Absolutely, you know, when these drills happen, you've got to watch, haven't you? But, you know, it's the same thing, Mick, you know, they're pushing us. These guys are 10 moves ahead of us in the game of chess, you know, they're banging what they're doing. And they know exactly what they're doing. Yeah. I mean, there's a power shift. It's going from west to east at the moment.
Well, that's funny you should say that, yeah.
Go on.
Go on. There's a guy I follow his blogs. He puts a blog out once a week, Benjamin Fulford. I don't know if you're aware of him. He lives in Japan, and a lot of people think he's a bit of a kook and stuff like that. But just what you said there with this power shift from west to east, he says something similar is going on. But what he claims is going on, that at the upper echelons of the power structure, you have in the west... and I'll use the label the Illuminati to describe the cabal that runs the western world. And then in the east, he says you've got the White Dragon Society, and there's this battle going on between both for control of world finance.
I personally think it's a load of bollocks, Mick. And I think, see all this stuff, this is why I kept well clear of all this in the book. I don't want people to get weighed down by thinking that there's massive evil forces and all this sort of thing. Well, no, it's not. It's just a bunch of CEOs at the head of a top of a company, and it's just the people in the parliament. It's not, and I think if we concentrate on these people, we might actually get something done. But all the time people are thinking of, Chinese Dragon Society and all these, and the white Illuminatis and the black Illuminatis and all this sort of, unless that just diffuses the situation and it makes them seem more powerful than they are. They're not. They're just a bunch of corporate heads that need taken down. Perverted corporate heads at that, and let's just stick to the facts we know.
But what do you think can be done about these people when these people seem, anyway, they appear outwardly to be above government? Like, how do you get to these people?
They are, but that's only because of the system they put in place, mate, But we're seeing that. We're seeing that game now. We're seeing it with the corporate structure. We're seeing it with the maritime admiralty law. We're seeing all of these things. So we are literally talking about 100,000 people on the planet that need to pay for their crimes.
And what do you think is the solution for these people? Just arrest them and lock them up?
Well, I personally, I'm not an advocate for two wrongs make a right, so we can't kill them.
No, I mean,
I'm getting to my answer, but I personally think they should rebuild the countries that they've smashed.
Yeah.
And so I personally think they should be working in chain gangs, rebuilding Gaza, Yemen, Libya, places like that. And the people should be allowed to throw fruit at them and stuff like that. I don't think they should be allowed to be killed, but to be humiliated till the day they die, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a fair enough punishment anyway. I mean, killing them, as you said, two wrongs don't make a right. And if there is going to be change on this planet, it has to be basically everybody involved, but it has to be non-violent. It has to be a passive movement.
Yeah, we've done, anything about any supposed revolution, not that there's ever been a real one ever. I think if there is to be one at this point, it should be done peacefully. It should be done. The pen is mightier than the sword, as they say. And I just think we can take them down peacefully this time. But we've got to do it right, and we've got to forget the anarchism. We've got to forget the protesting. We've got to step up our game a little bit, come away from that, maybe don the odd suit or two, just up our image a little bit, and go for the throat while it's exposed. Because these people, I tell you what, their paperwork, the whole system is fraudulent, and people are calling them on it now. And it's all there to be had, but we've just got to do it in the right way.
No, I want to talk about a few of the subjects that you mentioned in the book, and you just mentioned one there, the monetary system being a fraud, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I want to start out by asking you about the education system.
Mm-hmm.
You've done your research on the education system. Now, I've done my own as well over the years, and even when I was in school, I was quite satisfied it was an indoctrination system. I learned nothing in school. I left school very, very young, 13 years of age when I left, and all I actually came away from school with was the ability to read, write, and do basic mathematics. The rest I've figured out for myself as I've grown up. But and I know what school. Don't get me wrong. I understand school is important, and it is right to instill some sort of a discipline in kids. You just have to look at kids nowadays. I mean, I heard you mention there on Sean Maguire's show. I done the edit there today for you, and I was listening to bits of it. And one of the things you said was, and you've noticed in your own area where you live, and it's something I've certainly noticed where I live, is kids don't play out anymore.
No, they're all attached to the electronic systems, aren't they?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things we're doing. Well, we're desensitising them to war and heinous acts on these electronic systems. And that's maybe even a more dangerous precedent than them playing outside and getting muddy and all that sort of thing,
Yes, I mean, it's something kids don't do now, though, is it? Kids, they don't play out anymore. I mean, when we were kids, we went out robbing orchards or climbing walls, running through fields, climbing trees. Yeah, up to general mischief. Nothing major now, but up to general mischief.
No, but that's being a kid, isn't it? But we've stunted that, and we've stunted the society we have now. If you've got a child like that, you take them to the doctor and they're branded ADHD or something similar, and we spike them full of sedatives and other stuff that mullers the brain a bit,
But as I was saying though about school, I understand kids do need an education, but the kind of education that they're getting these days is one, they're taught to obey authority. Two, they're fed a load of information that if they're able to regurgitate it at the end of their 12 years in school and they regurgitate it all correctly, they pass their exams. So when you look at it that way, what school does for me anyway, the way I see it is, one, it stifles creativity, and two, it raises obedient taxpayers.
That is all it is. I mean, if you look, Mick, schooling has only become regular in the past 100 years or so. Before that, there was no such thing. People would there was universities, sure, you know, but people would have to prove academia from whatever they'd learned from the parents or wherever they could, whether it be the pastor or whatever they'd learned from their descendants. And then they would go on to learn about medicine or whatever they were doing. But, you know, this schooling program, this Prussian system, has only been here the past 100 years or so. And it really is just for indoctrinating slaves. And, you know, to make for these corporate owners that don't. And here, look, they've got it's worked. You know, we've got a whole generation, 8 billion people, you know, all working for nothing. And, you know, doing exactly what they're told and believing this illusion of authority that we've got. It's absolutely worked 100%.
Have you ever seen a little video by a guy called Larkin Rose? I don't know if you've ever come across him.
I love Larkin. Larkin is a great bloke.
A brilliant bloke, a great man, and absolutely a credit to humanity, if ever there was one.
Absolutely.
But he's done a great little video called The Tiny Dot.
Yes, yeah, great, exactly.
It explains it so perfectly, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a kids' film as well called Ants, Before I Woke Up, Pixar, whatever it is. Yeah. And it describes how the cockroaches or whatever they are keeping this group of ants down, and there's loads of ants and few cockroaches. And it's exactly the right
I think there's a scene in Ants where one of the controlling cockroaches, if you will, says to one of the other ones, if this lot ever find out that there's only a couple of us, we're goosed, or words to that effect. I don't remember if you remember that scene in the movie.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
When I seen that, that's the first thing come into my mind. That's exactly what the global elitists must be thinking, that if the planet ever get wind of what really is going on, like, they're screwed.
That's it. But see, the problem is, Mick, people give up freedom for the rest of their life for a day of comfort today.
Say that again?
Yeah. People give up freedom for the rest of their life for a day of comfort today.
Oh, that's very, very true. True. I mean,
so they'd rather sit there and close the door and go, oh no, I've got my little glass of wine and I've got EastEnders, and you know, okay, my kids are in the house with me, they're safe, they're not paedophiles, but you know, so everything's cool. And then I've got to go back and do it all again tomorrow, which is a completely pathetic outlook on life, as far as I'm concerned. You're completely wasting your life if your life means that you've got to leave your family every day to pay for shit you don't need. You are completely wasting your life.
Well, isn't that what modern life is? You know, you get out of bed at an ungodly hour in the morning, stuff your face with food you didn't really want, get dressed in clothes you had to pay for, go to work to earn the money to pay for those clothes, spend all day in work in a car that you still haven't paid for, getting to work and that. You spend all day in work paying for a house that you don't even live in. You know,
and the thing is, you're not happy with any of it because your neighbours feel inferior because they've got better stuff than you.
Yeah.
You know, so you're constantly. It's nuts. It's a complete joke.
You know, from someone Sorry, go ahead.
This is not what life's about. You know, guys, you should be working to live, not living to work.
Yeah.
You know.
And unfortunately, it's the other way around for a lot of people. Listen, I've just got a text and I want to read it out. If you want to send in a text, folks, you can on 087 062 7138. That's 087 062 7138 or info@liffeysoundfm.ie. My mate Robbie, he usually does a show with me here, but he couldn't tonight for family reasons. He said there's a large naval training drill happening with all nations around the world, headed by the Americans, but ironically enough, China and Russia are to join in after all the threats between NATO and China and Russia. He said he finds it a bit crazy that there's a war on the line, i.e. World War III brewing in the Middle East, but all nations find time to do a training drill. What do you make of that?
Well, this is what my book explains. They are all in it together.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck about the people. We're just slaves as far as they're concerned. They are the farmers, we are the cattle. And they all have their little jolly ups. Oh, let's have the G20 here. Let's have the da-da-da here. Let's have a Bilderberg meeting here. And all the Chinese and Russian heads will come over, and all these people, and they'll all zoom in their helicopters and have their thing and rape kids or whatever they bloody do, and then they'll all go back to their own country and they'll say, right, it's our turn for this city gets smashed, or it's our turn. You know, it's a big game of Risk. Do you remember that game?
I do indeed.
Risk?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all they're doing. That's all they're doing, and they all work together. And I'm fed up of seeing the Putin. Oh, Putin's gonna do this, and Putin's gonna save us, and get a grip, you bunch of idiots. Putin has caused more false flags in his own country to condone attacking this, that, Chechnya and all this. You know, he's a KGB, KGB is practically another arm of the CIA people. You know, it's ludicrous. He completely advocates the war on terror, and it's a joke. It's a joke.
I mean, people think, on social media especially, I mean, Putin is being painted as this hero figure. You know, he's going to save us from the Illuminati.
This comes into the bigger picture, Mick, and what they're going to do is, no, the West is being painted as a devil, which we rightly are at this point in history. We have done so many heinous acts, it's not true. They're being painted as the West, so when they get taken down by the East, that's why. Yeah, we're being painted as that, and rightly so, and to be honest, the people should be stepping up and taking it out from within, you know. That's the only way to remedy this situation. We've got to take them down. And completely apologise to the rest of the world and make good for the next 100 years.
And do you think it can be done? Like, do you think there can be some sort of a complete turnaround from the status quo as it stands right now?
I think it can be, but it's got to be done in the proper way. And it's got to be done in a way that captivates that middle class. It's got to be done in a way that is credible. But yeah, I firmly believe there is a way. Here, if there isn't, what are we all doing? What we're wasting our time at. Let's just pick up our pitchforks and go for it.
Yeah, because I think you're right there, because of the fact that people like ourselves are doing radio shows like this, and people like you are writing books that you do write, that we are doing all of this for a reason. I don't care what anybody says, because if we weren't supposed to be doing it, we wouldn't be.
No, it's the right time, and it's an exciting time to be alive, Mick. You know, it's we were destined to do this. You know?
Do you think people in 1939 Poland said it was an exciting time to be alive?
It is, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And let's have it. Let's take them down. If you were born in the most amazing sort of puzzle of your life, this is it.
It's a madhouse out there. Well, listen, I need to go to the last set of ads, so do you mind muting your mic for another 2 minutes?
Not at all, my friend. I'll see you in a couple of minutes.
Okay, folks, we'll be back in 2 minutes with Coy Holloway.
Local programmes, local presenters, local news. Tune to Liffey Sound 96.4 FM.
Now, folks, you're very welcome back. Coy, you still with me?
Indeed, my friend.
Lovely. We've got about 10 minutes left. I want to talk now about the financial system and how that is actually used to enslave us. I mean, your book is called A Slave's Guide to the Galaxy, and the listeners, those who don't know this, most of my listeners would be aware of this anyway, but those who don't will be wondering, well, how are we slaves? You know, I walk down the street every day and I'm free. Do you want to explain how the financial system actually has us all enslaved?
Absolutely. It's a few different factions. One, you've got this thing called fiat currency, and that is basically fiat in Italian, or means what will be. And it basically means the paper you've got in your hand isn't backed by anything. It's not backed by silver like it used to be. It's not backed by nothing. So it's toilet paper's as good. So that's one faction. You've then got fractional reserve banking, which allows, it goes back to the old days when people used to leave their gold as deposit, and then the bank would essentially hold, let's say, if they had £1 million worth of gold in, they would presume that not everyone's going to come get that gold at the same time, so they would lend out 10 times the amount of gold they had in deposit as loans. So when you couple that with usury, which is the system of charging interest on money borrowed, especially when you get your fiat paper from a private corporization, you ultimately have a system where you are you're playing with paper. You might as well be playing with monopoly money, because I tell you what, you're not allowed wealth. You don't have any gold. You're not backed by any gold. You don't own your house, your home, nothing like that. So we are all essentially playing with paper, and we are not allowed real wealth. They've got all the gold holdings, all the diamonds, all the precious metals, all the rest of it. So essentially, what they do is they build up a fiat current system, which is no more than a pyramid scheme. And the UK government knows it's doing this. They know that they're buying in the currency, which means they've got to pay it back with interest. And, it's a complete fallacy. And that very fact should prove alone, without the wars, without the chemical attacks we're under, without all the education system, everything, the money proves you're a slave. full stop. And people, if they just look at the money and the way, and what they do, they build up the pyramid scheme to such an extent, and then they know it can't get paid back, because if there's £1 million in the system that's got to be paid back to the company that we get the money from, where does interest come from? It's not in circulation. So we need to borrow more money to pay the interest back. Do you understand? It's a complete and utter. I tell you what, you've got to hold your hat off to the oligarchy, because they played a good number.
It is. I mean, it is genius when you take a step back and take a good look at it.
I tell you, they're clever people. I mean, it's taken them hundreds of years to do it. But, hats off to them, and yes.
But I don't think, I mean, you say they're clever people. They weren't that clever when they gave us the internet. Unless they gave us the internet as a distraction or something like that. But, I mean, the amount of stuff people have learned online about the way the system actually works.
Well, yeah, but then on the other hand, Mick, I think people have gone too far with it. There's, it's... people can have information, but it's the same as the TV. The net or web has done its job just as well as the TV has.
In this country, sorry, go ahead.
There's a whole load of apparent awakened people addicted to their laptop or their phone, or they're not actually doing anything. They're just addicted to the doom.
Armchair warriors, I suppose, is a title that most people would give them. But you saying that, all this information getting thrown around online and not a lot of people doing anything with it. But now in this country, for example, and I'm sure in the UK as well, I've seen it plenty of times over there. There's a gentleman here called Ben Gilroy. He recently ran for election.
Ben's a hero.
Ben's a great bloke. Now, I've interviewed Ben. I've met him numerous times. He's a lovely, lovely man. He's had major family issues to be dealing with over the last couple of years, and still he hasn't stopped doing what he's doing. And he's down in the courts with the Hub, with Direct Democracy Ireland, helping people, just ordinary people he doesn't even know, get through court cases, and he is being effective. So what he's been learning, both on and offline, is having an impact on the system. I mean, he ran for election. I've heard nothing but people cry over the last few years about the state that this country is in. Here's people like Ben coming out, offering real, tangible solutions. We can sort this problem out, and he gets hammered in the polls. You couldn't make this stuff up.
Absolutely. I mean, but those polls are not a true reflection of how well Ben's done.
Well, that's very true. That's very true.
And Ben, you should clap yourself on the back, my friend, because you've really done a great job, as is Ireland doing in the revolution process on a whole. I mean,
there's a lot of people awake here. You just have to look at the water protest marches here that are on a monthly basis at this rate, and the upwards to 100,000 people at them. Now, RTA, our mainstream TV channel, they'll say there's only 10,000. They fudge the numbers, something terrible.
My friend, here, don't get me wrong. We just need direction. That's all we need. We need organisation and direction at this point. We've got to stop being fractionalised. We've got to stop, to be honest, the protest, because that's nothing more than a form of consent. And we've got to get organised in a lawful, remedial way, and we can actually strike hard and strike fast, and we can start shutting courts down and councils down and things like that if we just act organised and do it in a constructive manner.
Who do you see, from a grassroots level up? We just say there's a few billion of us on this planet at grassroots level. Just above that grassroots level, who do you see is the problem, stopping us? Do you think the civil servants around the world,
it's all the followers. As explained in the book, it's all the followers. It's the Stanford prison effect. We are controlling ourselves, which is
don't
really
need to be policed,
the police that are writing you that parking ticket are going home to their estate, and they've got council tax, and they've got water bills, and they've got all these problems, and they're probably up to their eyeballs in debt, and hence why they're nicking a bit of money off a dealer they might nick, or whatever they're doing. They're getting a collar felt,
and yet they'll do everything in their power to protect that system that they deep down, if they actually analyse their own lives now, is screwing them over just as much.
This is it, my friend. But this is a Stanford effect, isn't it? They're not willing to compromise that paycheck, because if they do, the missus will be banging on at them, or there's repercussions of that action. But ultimately, we've all got to look at the paycheck that we are all killing the world with the tax that we pay. You know, we should all, ultimately, Mick, if we all had a sun awakening as of today, if we don't go into work tomorrow, we'll bring the system down in 2-3 days.
Yeah,
quite
it would happen as well.
Quite easily. But the point is, we don't have those numbers. And all the time we don't have those numbers, there's innocent people getting killed. There's innocent disabled people dying. There's innocent people getting, hounded by this unlawful system of admiralty demons. There's heinous things going on in the world. The death that is getting caused by our society is unreal.
Now, can I ask you, all the taxes that are paid on national levels in the UK, Ireland, Europe, anywhere else for that matter, America, Russia, people who are paying income tax and paying into a system that is waging war around the world, does that in turn then make every single taxpayer complicit in all this crap that's going on around the world, by virtue of the fact that they're willing to go to work to pay these taxes?
Absolutely. Unequivocally.
That's a lot for anybody to chew on. Well,
that is a fact. The next time you see a Syrian child in bits being held by its mother in tears, your money paid for that. That's a harsh fact.
But it is the truth, isn't it?
It is the unequivocal truth. Unequivocal truth.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I got a text in there off Robbie. The possibility of change without violence seems far-fetched. You can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs, so pitchforks are listening.
I do hear him. But here, there is remedy if people can get organised.
Full-on global non-compliance. I think that's the only way.
Can we be that organised, mate?
I don't think we can. As a species. Because the problem we have, I suppose, with the world is the mainstream media is controlled, and it's very, very tightly controlled. If you even go against the mainstream media, like Jill Dando, they say, a lone nut Irishman shot her, which is bullshit anyway. Barry George didn't kill her. She was killed for exposing the BBC paedophile ring, let's face it.
Absolutely.
And then you get Tony Blackburn there a couple of days ago getting sacked, and then the next day then they release a report saying the BBC knew nothing about Jimmy Savile. I mean, come on.
Absolutely, my friend, absolutely. But then if we were organised, we could all put, let's say, £1 a week into a kitty and organise a national newspaper, that went to every house, if we were organised. It wouldn't cost that much, but if we were organised, we could do certain things.
I mean, this is the thing. You say a national newspaper. If we managed to get our hands on the editor of, say, the Mirror or the Sun tomorrow or the Times, and got them to print the truth on the first 10 pages, I've no doubt there would be a revolution overnight.
Oh, they'd be a hero, and that'd be an amazing accomplishment. If we could do something like that, that'd be amazing.
And I think, personally, that's all that actually needs to be done. I think the biggest problem, the biggest stumbling block that the world faces in turning this crap around is the media. You need to get the media on the side of the people and for once report the bloody truth, that this is what's going on.
The thing is, what are they also scared about? These corporate heads, i.e. these editors and it is like they have been involved in some heinous act that they can be blackmailed against. Yeah.
I mean,
and I think that's where all this sexual perversion with the child abuse and all that comes in.
Is used as a blackmailing tool into the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why these CEOs and whatnot aren't speaking up against. Because if I was in one of those positions, no, I wouldn't be able to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah.
But then if they had something on me, would you? I don't know.
But that's the thing, that's the problem. Bill Hicks said it very wisely in one of his shows. He said he was convinced that when an American president got elected, on the first day in the White House, they're brought downstairs into a smoky little room, and in that room were some of the world's biggest financiers smoking their big fat cigars, and they're shown the assassination of JFK from an angle that no one has ever seen before, and then they're asked, do you still want to be president? And I think that goes on.
Who knows what goes on? But we know that they're selected from a very early age. I mean, this Obama, he came from nowhere, absolutely nowhere, and he was brought up and bred for the position he's in. And I actually fear he's going to become the UN president, and I think that's the way it looks like it's headed. And then all your guys predicting biblical antichrist and all that, I think they might be bang on.
So listen, we've got about 3 minutes left. Before we go, do you want to, I suppose, give your outlook for the future? What do you see happening over the next year or so? Do you think the world is going to go to hell in a handbasket, or do you think things might turn around for the better?
I hate to say, I think it is. I think it's only going to keep getting worse every day that we ignore our duty to do the right thing. I think, yeah, it's going to get worse. But I do see a massive awakening of really conscious people, and I just ask, I deplore people. Let's stop arguing about bullshit and tittle tattle and nonsense, and let's get organised. That's all I say. Let's get organised. These people are organised. We should be damn well be organised. That's the crux of the matter.
Well, listen,
And
go on, finish what you're saying.
And let's stop paying that tax. You can't wake up in the morning and live with yourself while you're doing that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's just the way things are. And people, as you said, they do need to wake up and realise what's actually going on. And your book is a great way to start. So, do you want to just give out a couple of web addresses, your blog address and stuff like that, and where the book can be got?
The blog can be caught across any Amazon platform. If you can't get it through that, I do have an Indiegogo fundraiser thing that you can buzz a little donation in there, and I'll send you a PDF version. I do a paperback version, so if you contact me at peacekeeperhq@outlook.com, that's peacekeeperhq@outlook.com, or Twitter @Kai Holloway, no one special, Facebook Kai Holloway.
That's brilliant. But listen, Kai, thanks very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate you coming on. It's been a very interesting hour. No, don't mention it. It's been absolutely great having you on, and hopefully I'll get you on again in the future. Should we let a few things transpire on the global stage, and then we can come back and talk about it?
Absolutely. Well,
that'd be brilliant.
I mean, get that book out. That's the point I wrote it. So get it out to your neighbours and your workmates and all that.
And it is available on Amazon for less than a £5, folks. You won't get better value anywhere else, and it's a riveting read. It really is.
Happy days, mate.
Lovely.
Happy days.
Kyle, thanks very much, and I'll talk to you very soon. Be safe.
Indeed, my friend.
Talk to you very soon. Thanks very much. Bye-bye. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that was Kai Holloway, and he's written a brilliant book called The Slave's Guide to the Galaxy. It's available on Amazon. It's less than a £5, folks. It's well worth going on and buying, so I recommend it to everybody. So, in saying that, folks, this has been The World You Don't Know. You can text the studio on 087 062 7138 for any comments about the show. There will be a podcast of the show. You can get that on YouTube, on The World You Don't Know, and you just type that into YouTube, The World You Don't Know. The World You Don't Know has a Facebook page as well. Go on there, like it, share it, spread it around, blah, 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 blah. But this has been The World You Don't Know. And I'm going to leave you with a great song. As Kai was saying there, the only way we're going to solve all these problems is if everybody wakes up and everybody starts to work together. So in saying that, folks, this has been The World You Don't Know. And be safe, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Bye-bye.
Nine to 10 p.m. Monday night on Liffey Sounds. The World You Don't Know. The World You Don't Know. 9 to 10 p.m. Monday night on Liffey Sounds.